What's up everybody, I'm Nick Lamone and today is a very special day. It has finally arrived, the PlayStation 5 Pro. And yes, we are going to do a complete unboxing. You're going to be able to see everything that is inside this box as well as the vertical stand over here. And you might be thinking, why is this guy wearing one creepy black glove? Well, that's because I've been told I have very greasy hands, and so in order to get wonderful beauty shots and not have my producer yell at me, I got these black latex gloves. So let's get started. All right, and before we open it up, let's take a look at the back where we see all of the new features of the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I can't see because I'm short. We have the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, also known as PSSR. This is going to be a big flagship feature of the console, but we'll dive into that a little bit more later. Additionally, we have optimized console performance and of course, advanced ray tracing. So without further ado, that's enough of me talking with an unopened PS5 Pro. Let's fix that. Gotta love that sound. And first up, we will open this, cover my face, and like the regular PlayStation 5, the first thing you'll notice is the power cable. Let's take a look. I know everyone likes this part of the unboxing. Based on my experience with all things Sony PlayStation power cables, this looks pretty identical to every single power cable I think I've ever seen from PlayStation. Let me take a look. We actually have the one that came with the PlayStation 5 base model right here. And yeah, they look pretty identical, although slightly different. So if I got that wrong, please let us know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious if there's any meaningful difference. But alas, we have our power cable that I will set over there. Ooh. Here's something nice. We also have our HDMI 2.1 cable. This is going to allow us to get 4K 60 obviously, but in addition to that, it will also allow us to take advantage of the PlayStation 5 Pro and also PlayStation 5's ability to output 4K 120 Hertz should your TV actually support that functionality. But alas, HDMI 2.1, not the same as a regular HDMI cable. So make sure you use this bad boy or get something that is similar. On the other side of the box, we of course have our DualSense controller. Unfortunately, IGN did not spring for the fancy PlayStation Anniversary PS5 Pro console, so this is just an ordinary DualSense controller, but alas, it is brand new, it is very pretty, and because of these gloves, no fingerprints. So we'll set that off to the side. And let me just do a quick double check. Oh, because I'm short, I also missed this. We also have two things. We have a USB-C power cable. It's USB-C on both sides. That will allow us to connect our DualSense controller to our PlayStation 5 Pro once we get it unboxed and allow us to charge the device as well as update the firmware on the controller. One thing I've actually never seen before, I don't know what this is, but it was in the box and hopefully we find out what this is a little bit later, but it is a plastic little piece with a small like rubber white tip at the very top. So I've never seen this before. Is this a PlayStation 5 Pro exclusive piece of plastic? Who knows, but I guess we'll find out. Hopefully there's instructions. And now that we've got all the connections out of the way, let's get to the PlayStation 5 console, PlayStation 5 Pro console itself out of the box. Oh wow, this is very clumsy. Stand by. Before we do that, here, let's do this, just because it's getting in the way. We have our safety manual and quick start guide. I know you all read the manuals, right? And now, let me get this back up because I'm being told that everyone wants to see the getting pulled out of the box. Wow, it just does not come out. There we go. There she is. Oh, and before we put this box away for good, I have good news. We have a companion plastic piece that is identical to the first one. Two different spots. Maybe that's just because I mishandled it initially. Who knows? Hopefully we find out what this is in just a second. But now the moment we've all been waiting for. Here we have the PlayStation 5 Pro. Drum roll, please. There she is. The PlayStation 5 Pro. This thing, first impressions out of the box, because I've only ever held a normal PlayStation 5 Pro, the launch model, this is innately way more compact because this has no disk drive, obviously much slimmer in form and functionality. We can do a more side-by-side comparison shortly, but take a look. We have the racing stripes on the side, which I think look pretty cool, and they kind of accentuate the form of the center of the PlayStation 5 console. And let's take a look at the back of the console. I'm seeing some pretty big differences right away. We have two USB-A ports, along with a LAN connection and an HDMI 2.1 slot, and of course our power cable so we can turn this bad boy on. But in the front, you'll notice an immediate difference where we have two USB-C slots this time around. If you take a look at the original PlayStation 5 console, it features one USB slot and along with one USB-A slot, and of course the power button. Since this is a digital only console, this only has a power button, so no disc eject button. But now let's do a quick size comparison. Set this all off to the side. Get all of this out of here. With the PlayStation 5 Pro compared to the PlayStation 5 base console digital, one thing that stands out immediately, size. This is slightly shorter than the base digital only console. Additionally, way slimmer. Again, this is not a slim PlayStation 5 console. And right away, one thing that also stands out, I'm not sure if this is just because this PlayStation 5 has been at the office for a long time, the texture on the white. The texture on here is a lot more like grainy. You can kind of feel the texture a little bit more. It stands out. And let's take a look and see if it has any more of those fun little PlayStation symbols. The back of the PlayStation 5 base console features some PlayStation symbols near the back that you can see here. Let's take a look and see if the PlayStation 5 Pro features those same symbols. And from what I'm seeing, it does not actually have those symbols. I know that typically is where you kind of slide in the little platform that comes with the base PlayStation 5, but that is missing from here. One thing to also note, the PlayStation 5, let me just double check the box, did not come with this little black platform in order to either stand your console up vertically or stand it off to the side. Fortunately, PlayStation sent to us a vertical stand here, so we can test that out shortly. But alas, there she is, the PlayStation 5 Pro. One other small addition to the console on the side panel, we have our PlayStation symbols right there. So there you have it. The PlayStation logo continues to remain in the same spot. Other initial impressions, the top of the console has a more concave feeling to it. It is a lot more like, it has like a little bit of a depth to it, and that extends to the back of the console where all of the ports are, compared to the base PlayStation consoles. It is mostly a flat top. So this does have a little bit more curve to it. So that's nice. But just some additional talking points about the PlayStation 5 Pro. This bad boy releases November 7th. It costs $699.99 US, and it comes with a 2 terabyte M.2 SSD installed. Also installed, pre-installed I should say, is Astro's Playroom. And again, one of the big things about the PlayStation 5 Pro is its ability to play games in native 4K or upscaled 4K using PSSR at up to 120 frames per second. And obviously that's gonna vary from game to game. And of course, one thing that PlayStation is touting is that the PlayStation 5 Pro does indeed support 8K gaming. Granted, that's going to vary from title to title, and off the top of my head, the only games I know that support it that you could play on the base PlayStation 5 was called The Tourist, which does support native 8K resolution. But one thing that is coming to PlayStation 5 that is going to be coming soon, I'm not sure when it is, but Gran Turismo 7 does have an experimental 8K mode that will allow you to play the game in 8K resolution at 60 frames per second. I don't know how the people at Polyphony Digital do it. They work their magic and make beautiful things happen. But say you don't have an 8K TV and you think, well, what else can I do with the PlayStation 5 Pro on Gran Turismo? Gran Turismo 7 specifically also offers a PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced feature that allows you to actually play the game at 4K resolution, 60 native, and it also supports ray tracing in races. Currently, if you play Gran Turismo 7 on a base PlayStation 5, you can only enjoy the ray tracing feature in the post-game replay. So you can't actually play with the ray tracing, but you can watch a race you just did via the replay with ray tracing. So the PlayStation 5 Pro actually enables you to play the game with ray tracing in real time, which I think is pretty sweet. Other specs about the PlayStation 5 Pro, our processor is identical. That said, the GPU is going to be better than the base PlayStation 5 Pro. I would say that the PS5 Pro console is more comparable to a 4070 in terms of some of its features, and it's closer in power to the RX 6700. Overall, you're gonna get about 45% faster rendering on the PlayStation 5 Pro. And speaking of rendering, the big thing that Sony is touting with the PlayStation 5 Pro is its AI-driven upscaling. And I know often AI is used as a kind of marketing buzzword, but I do genuinely think that this is a proper implementation of that sort of technology that we see DLSS, that we see in DLSS, we see in FSR, and I think Sony's version of that is the PlayStation, what is it called again? Let me take a look at the box. The PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. I don't really remember acronyms and what they stand for. I just know PSSR. So that's gonna be a thing that you're hearing with all PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced games moving forward, is how well it implements PSSR. I really know a very top line level on how PSSR works. I know it's very similar to DLSS, and it is a Sony proprietary AI upscaling solution. If you'd like to learn more about PSSR, I only know a bit of top level stuff. I would highly recommend checking out Digital Foundry's YouTube channel, where they go in depth on how PSSR works and how it's being implemented in select titles. They have a very impressive breakdown on how PSSR is implemented in The Last of Us Part 2. So check that out, that way you can learn a little bit more. But I think that AI upscaling is here to stay and going to be a prominent feature in consoles moving forward. And I think it's a clever way of getting high fidelity with minimal compromise in terms of performance. But you might be wondering, well, Nick, yeah, it's really cool that PlayStation 5 Pro is here, but what games actually take advantage of the PS5 Pro? Well, a lot of games, and it's pretty extensive. I think there's like 80 plus games that are all PS5 Pro enhanced. I only took a highlight of some of the games that I thought would be relevant in terms of what you would want to know is playable on here versus every single game that's available. You can take a look online and see where you can find that exhaustive list. But some PS5 Pro compatible games include Alan Wake 2, which I believe to be one of the most impressive looking uses of everything the PS5 Pro has to offer, as well as Baldur's Gate 3. A personal favorite of mine is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yes, you can now play quality mode essentially at 60 frames per second in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No blurriness. Other games include God of War Ragnarok. I already touched on Gran Turismo 7. We got Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, Horizon Forbidden West, The Last of Us Part 1 Remastered, and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. And for those of you who have PlayStation VR 2, some games that are PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced include Arcan Age, Cube VR, Kayak VR Mirage, and Subside. But that's enough talk about just the baseline physical makeup of the PlayStation 5 Pro. Let's get this vertical stand bad boy opened up and take a look and see how it stacks up, literally, against other consoles. So, once again, bust out the trusty box cutter. I really appreciate the PlayStation exclusive tape that's included. Let's open this bad boy up. There we have it. We have the technology to open it up. We of course have our vertical stand manual, because who doesn't need a manual? And we have the vertical stand itself, which we will unpack here. One thing that stands out immediately from the stand that comes with the base PlayStation 5, this thing is a whole lot sleeker. Whether or not it's sleek enough to justify the $29.99 price, I leave up to you. But this thing is pretty, and it does have a nice little heft to it. Also included in the box, we have the panel I assume attaches to the bottom of the PlayStation 5 Pro. If you take a look, there's a small circular little ring here at the bottom of the PlayStation 5 Pro. The other PlayStation 5s also have the same thing, but you just remove that little panel and you got yourself a little slot to screw in the vertical stand. So let's go ahead and do that. Alrighty, now that I have the vertical stand unboxed, let's go ahead and get it mounted. One thing to note going in, if you are installing this on a PlayStation 5 Pro, your stand is actually going to come with this little base plate. That's not needed for the PlayStation 5 Pro. In another time, in another life, I might have installed this incorrectly, but you will never see that time. We are going to turn our PlayStation 5 Pro upside down in order to easily mount this thing. We are going to remove the screw cap from the bottom of the PlayStation 5 Pro, which we've already done. Make sure you set that aside someplace you won't lose it, because it is black and easy to lose. And then after that, we're going to take our vertical stand and we are going to take that cap we just removed. And again, this is different from console to console. So if this is a PlayStation 5 Pro you're installing the vertical stand on, make sure you are attaching that cap to the triangle and circle portion of the base stand. So let's go ahead and do that. And there you go. You should now have a free square and X portion of this. We are going to attach this to the base of the PlayStation 5 Pro. It should kind of lock in and get secured pretty easily. And then we're going to take that screw that came in the vertical stand and attach it to the bottom of the PlayStation 5 Pro via the square and the X hole. And just because I have the very scary murder gloves on, I'm just going to take a flathead screwdriver and just gently attach this a little more securely. The manual makes a point to say that you can just use your fingers to screw this in. I just want to be extra safe and not embarrass myself on camera. And there you have it. We have our PlayStation 5 Pro vertical stand, and that is super secure and honestly feels a lot more stable than the one that comes with the base PlayStation 5. So let's take a look. Let's plug this bad boy in. I'm going to connect this. And now the moment of truth. Will it post? Did it turn on? There we go. Now it did. And we have a beep, and there you have it. While this gets booted up, it's obviously going to load us into whatever the splash screen is. I'm sure you all are very familiar with the sound and makeup of that. But while we have the PlayStation 5 set up here on the table, let's go ahead and do a quick size comparison with the digital PlayStation 5 base model on its own vertical stand. So if you are standing the two consoles up vertically, one thing you'll notice right away with the vertical stand versus the normal stand, it's a whole lot more secure. Additionally, with the stand included, the digital only PlayStation 5 stands just slightly taller, just very slightly taller than the PlayStation 5 Pro. And again, I already kind of went into form factor, but I think side by side, you really see the curves on the PlayStation 5 Pro more accentuated, and those curves extend towards the back. And again, you have the comparison of the side by side, USB-A versus 2 USB-C slots plus 1 USB-C. And there you have it. Let's go ahead and swap out the digital only PlayStation 5 for the disc version of the base PlayStation 5 console and compare that in heft. Side by side, obviously the PlayStation 5 launch console with the disc drive included is going to be about the same height as the digital only version, slightly taller than the PlayStation 5 Pro. But the big difference between the two is going to be weight. This is significantly heavier than the PlayStation 5 Pro, which, oh my gosh, it's so light by comparison. And there you have it. That is the PlayStation 5 Pro side by side with all the consoles. Just for the heck of it, let's get all of these side by side just so you can compare. Let me move this over. So much easier to pick up. So we have our digital only PlayStation 5 launch model PlayStation 5 with disc drive, and in the center here we have our PlayStation 5 Pro. And there you have the PlayStation 5 family of consoles. And after a bit of research, I finally learned the purpose of these two plastic little stands. Turns out this is the brand new horizontal stand. Whether or not these came with the PlayStation 5 Slim model, I don't know. I have a base PlayStation 5, launch PlayStation 5, so oopsie. But regardless, let's go ahead and get this one installed and see what that looks like. So we are going to want to put the PlayStation 5 Pro upside down. And if you take a look on the bottom of the PlayStation 5 Pro, you'll see along the black racing stripe, you'll see a series of 4 inserts. That's where we're going to slide the horizontal stand. So we want to make sure both horizontal stands slide in carefully. I'm going to tilt this towards camera to make everyone's life a little bit easier. And you simply drop those in. Should be nice and secure. We'll do this. And just like that, our PlayStation 5 Pro is ready to go horizontal. All right, and now it's time for potentially one of the scariest parts of this entire video. I'm gonna try to remove the side panel from the PlayStation 5 Pro and pray that I do not break it. Just for comparison, I've gone ahead and removed the panel from the side of the PlayStation 5 base console, the digital console. It is always scary every time I've ever done it. I've had to do it multiple times, and for me, it never gets easier. It always feels like you're gonna break the console. So hopefully I don't do that. Let's give it a shot with the PlayStation 5 Pro. You're gonna wanna pull from the PlayStation logo here. And looks like, unlike the base PlayStation 5, it's gonna split into 2 parts. So here we have the top. Just for a reference, we still see our fan in roughly the same position. And now I would assume we extend that same to the bottom. Let's find out. There you have it. It is removed. One thing that stands out to me right away is that the actual grooves of the panel is very different. I'm curious to see the PlayStation 5 Slim. We don't have any available here at IGN, unfortunately, but from the launch model, it is very different attachments. So if you have a plate for your base PlayStation 5, it doesn't look like it's going to be compatible with the PlayStation 5 Pro. And we will take a look and see whether or not the Slim is different. But from what I'm seeing online, it looks like you're going to need to buy entirely new panels when they're available. And just for the sake of giving us a nice little button, I'm going to remove this PlayStation here. Gently place that on the floor and reattach these panels, and once again pray that I do not break anything. Should be pretty straightforward. In theory. There you go, it should just sort of snap on. And 1, 2, 3. we have our faceplates back on. And since we're already messing around with the panels, I went ahead and flipped the PlayStation 5 Pro over to remove the back panel and reveal where you would connect additional M.2 storage. And just as a reminder, the PlayStation 5 Pro comes built in with 2 terabytes of SSD storage. But if you need any additional storage, you can of course pick up a stick of M.2 storage that is compatible with the PlayStation 5 Pro. You should be able to see that located on the M.2 storage box. And then you're going to want to unscrew this very fancy PlayStation screw that includes all of the face buttons of the PlayStation 5. We'll go ahead and remove this panel. And as you'll notice, you'll slide your additional storage here, right where the grooves are. You'll then take this screw, let's remove it, and then you'll take the additional M.2 storage, connect it, remove this screw that you see located here, and then once you have it installed, screw it back in. Please make sure you do not lose that screw. It is very important. Once you have your M.2 storage installed, you'll want to reseal that panel like so, and of course, finish it off with the fancy screw. You'll then boot into your PlayStation 5 menu and format your M.2 storage, and you should be good to go. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the PlayStation 5 Pro. Make sure you also check out IGN's official review of the PlayStation 5 Pro. And for all things ongoing PlayStation 5 Pro, make sure you continue to check out IGN.com.